Hey guys, it's Ben here from the Strength Factory, and after a long, hot and very dry summer, I'm out on my first muddy ride of the year, and I've got plenty of mud riding tips just for you. First things first, prepare, okay? Get yourself ready now in the autumn, okay? So what I've done this week is I've re-proofed my waterproofs for the winter. My jacket, my trousers, okay? They've all been re-proofed, all right? This is a brand called Nick Wax. It's the one I've always used, but there's loads of brands out there and they're probably all about the same, to be honest. The key thing here when you're doing this process is that it's really important to wash the garments first before you do this. And when you wash it, you really want to wash it in a clean washing machine that's free of old detergent and stuff like that. So run a rinse cycle, clean out the drawer a little bit, which is a pain in the dick, but your clothes will really thank you for it. And when people are spending £100+ on waterproof jacket or trousers, it's really worth that short investment in time. So re-proof your gear and start the winter as you mean to go on. My second bit of kit prep is I've gone into the back of the shed, back of the cupboard, and I've dug out this bottle here, which I haven't really used all summer, and it's got a protector for the cap. So when this is covered in mud later, hopefully just mud, not dog poo, I can always flick it off and I'm not gonna get all the crap in my mouth. This next one is really obvious and I really shouldn't have to say it, but every winter I see people riding around, they're covered in mud, they can't see where they're going because they don't have a mud guard, or they've got one of those crappy little flexible bendy plastic ones that you get free on the front of a magazine or something. Total waste of time. Plastic is only good for landfill. What you need is some proper coverage so it actually protects you. It's going to keep the mud out of your eyes and out of your face so you can actually see where you're going on the trail. This one here is a Pro Guard, okay? I bought it with my own money. I'm not sponsored, but it's a really good bit of kit. And the best thing is these days is that loads of these mud guards, like Mud Hugger do it as well, they bolt on with 2 small Allen bolts. No cable tie, no scratching, looks nice and clean. It's still absolutely solid and it keeps the crap out of my eyes. So seriously, yeah, you just don't, there's no point having a small one. Either run a proper mud guard or don't bother. Sticking with bike prep, if like me you run flat pedals, then throughout the summer, you know, I tend to bang on a few rocks and things like that, and you can maybe bend or like wear down some of the pins, and in the summer you can get away with it. In the winter, when everything's wet, your foot wants to slide about more on the pedals, let's get some fresh pins on there. It's really affordable, really cheap and quick way to just freshen up the pedals, give them a new lease of life and loads of grip when you need it most, when it's really wet and slippy in the winter. It's one of those things that as the pins wear throughout the year, you know, you don't notice them gradually getting worse and worse and losing grip. It's only when you get the new set you realise, okay? It's like when you take your car to get serviced and they do the brakes and you realise that your brakes were really shit beforehand and a bit dangerous, okay? Same deal. Get yourself some fresh pins. Hey guys, if you're watching this and you've watched 2 or 3 of my videos and you haven't subscribed yet, then please just do me a favour, hit that button, okay? Give me a like, give me a subscribe, share the love. Every extra subscriber helps me to help you, okay? Helps me to grow the channel, keep the sponsors happy, and if those things are happening, then this keeps on happening, all right? I'm gonna do my best to look after you, so can you look after me? Cheers. If you're like me and you like to wear a bum bag, or you might call it a fanny pack, when you're riding, then I've got a great little mini tip for you for the winter, for the mud. So obviously normally you wear it around here, no surprises there, but in the winter, when it's really muddy, especially if you've got a jacket with like a drop hem on the back that you're wearing, get it under your riding gear, okay? And it's obviously going to keep it a lot cleaner. And what we're really looking to do is preserve the life and the function of the zip, okay? Because zips get clogged up with mud, and that is ultimately what makes this sort of kit fail in the long run. So the less it gets exposed to mud, the less likely you are to be halfway through a ride with a zip that's jammed or has split. These next tips are a little bit about bike setup, okay? And the first one is that you can drop your tyre pressures usually. Compared to in the summer where everything's hard packed and generally running faster, when it's muddy, the speeds are generally slower, the ground is generally softer, and that means we can drop a little bit of tyre pressure to potentially give you more grip, okay? So the tyre is more compliant over the ground without the risk of punctures. Now, I'm running a set of Maxes here that came on this bike. So we've got an EXO Plus casing Assegai on the front and a double down casing Minion DHR2 on the rear. And you know what, touch wood, they've been awesome. I had no dramas, no punctures all summer. And I'm running a pair of Rim Packed in there as well, running the original in the front and the Higher Protection Pro version in the rear. For the wet today, I've just dropped 2 psi out of each tyre. So I'm running 21 in the front and 22 in the back. Simple as that. The other thing you can think about doing is making some small adjustments to your suspension. Now the bottom line is that for 99% of us who aren't pro racers, you just need to get a setting that works for like 99% of the time. And then you can literally just go a few clicks either side of that to fine tune for whether it's a high-speed bike park day or like a wet, loamy day in the woods. So on a day like today, where the speeds are going to be slower and maybe I'm searching for more grip, I can just back off, okay, so reduce the amount of compression damping, and to go with that, I could then also slow the fork down a little bit, and the same on the shock. Now this is always a divisive subject, and I know a lot of people who don't use any compression damping, especially on their Fox products, okay? They don't use it even in the summer, so there's nothing to back off. But I do use some compression damping, and I found it like really useful through the summer for protecting my hands. But on a day like today, I'm just going to back it off a couple of clicks of each, and hopefully just get that little bit more suppleness and free movement in the fork that's going to give me the grip that I want. Even with a really good mud guard, there's still going to be mud flying up, and sometimes it's going to go in your face and in your eyes, especially if you're riding in a group, okay? And if there's mud in your eye, you can't see, you can't ride very well and have a very good time. So in the winter, your eye protection is super important. So I've got a set of nice riding glasses. These are Smiths, or sometimes I wear goggles. Now, top tip for the goggles in the winter, like if it's a bit wetter than it is today, then I like to pack out the inside of the lens with some tissue, okay? So in between runs, any moisture in there is just gonna be soaking up like sweat, rain, that humidity, and it just helps to keep the lens clear and defogged in between runs, okay? Make sure as well that you're always cleaning these with like the bag that comes with it, and if you let the mud dry on the lenses, then you need to be really careful when you clean it off afterwards so you don't just scratch it, okay? If you let the mud dry, then you need to take it home usually, or use a lot of water and really soak it and then dab the mud off rather than scratching those lenses. Because when you get into low light situations, especially riding in dusk or even at night time, every little scratch on these is going to mean you can see less and less out on the trails. As you know, I'm not a skills coach, but I'm just going to really touch briefly on the riding side of life. And all I'll say is you just need to be loose and relaxed, okay? You need to allow the bike to move around underneath you. Give it that space and that freedom. And when you feel it move, you'll see more novice and less experienced riders stiffen up and like, and then that's when the bike then breaks traction, you get offline and so on. You'll see the good riders, the good wet weather and mud riders are very loose, and the bike is just moving freely underneath, okay? So you've got like maybe a lighter grip, you know, keep the heels dropped, but the knees can almost bow out a little bit to give the bike that space to move, okay? The other thing you'll see people do, and this is a global riding problem really, but especially in the wet when people are scared of the front washing in the wet, is they then take their weight off the front wheel, straightening the arms, and then you're never going to get any grip. You need to be in your proper riding position to weight those tires to make it work, to make it turn, okay? And I've said this 100 times because I'm a massive believer, and I'm booked in for some myself this winter. Get some skills coaching and book it for when the weather's going to be crappy, okay? So you can get that skills coaching in the wet, in the mud, and communicate to the coach that you're maybe nervous, or you know, you're not riding so well and you want to learn and improve your mud riding skills, which ultimately comes back to the very fundamentals of riding, and it's building that great riding position. Check out my video on the subject up there if you want to, because it's all about mastering the basics. If you master the basics, you can ride in the dry, you can ride in the loose, you can ride in the mud, you can ride wherever, because that's what the pros are best at, is they can master and apply the basics in every single situation. So there you go, a whole load actually of tips there to help you enjoy your winter riding more, to get the most out of those wet and muddy rides, so you can just enjoy it, so you can improve, so you can be a little bit better every time you ride. If you like this, please make sure that you like and subscribe. Send it to a mate who sucks or who's a fair weather rider. In fact, don't send it to a mate who sucks, that's really mean. I mean, send it to your mate who could ride better in the mud. Awkward.